Welcome, Liz Myers here, author of A Pocket Guide to Habit Change. I would love to pick up from where I was in chapter 2. I was talking about discovering the function behind the habit. In that chapter, I spoke specifically about quitting smoking. Now, in that chapter, I didn't actually talk about the techniques I used in quitting smoking. So I wanted to jump to chapter 8, the harm reduction model, because in this chapter I do discuss a bit more of some of the techniques I used in quitting smoking. So I'd love to read a portion of this chapter. Chapter 8, harm reduction model. Now, harm reduction really is referring to reducing the harm to yourself. It doesn't mean that you're completely quitting. It means that you're lessening it. It means that maybe you're changing, transitioning to something a little bit healthier. Maybe you're not ready to completely let go, but you're ready to make a change. And this is a great way to slowly introduce this change so that it's not too overwhelming, right? We want small steps. And small steps are the key to making long-lasting changes. So that's why I love the harm reduction model. Okay, so let's dive in. I'm going to start with I start with page 36. Let's look at smoking as the example to view through the harm reduction lens. As you know, I quit smoking in my 20s. Remember that story from earlier when I discussed my big boobie reduction? Well, I had a very challenging circumstance arise in my life in my late 30s, and I started to lightly smoke those American Spirits again. You know, life can throw you some curveballs, and my own decisions and actions created quite the curveball of problems to deal with. So, what did I do? I went back to smoking. This time it lasted just 2 years, thankfully. Once I realized and acknowledged that going back to smoking was not in my highest good, I thought to myself, how can I make it more challenging to smoke? And how can I reduce the harm to myself? The key component to the harm reduction strategy refers to replacing part of the harmful activity with something that is not as harmful. In this instance, I decided it would benefit me to roll my own cigarettes and incorporate sage along with the tobacco. Sage is known for its mystical and relaxing effects. If I wanted to have a cigarette, I would need to take the time to roll one with less tobacco, since nicotine is the most harmful and addictive component of the cigarette. Okay, so maybe that doesn't sound like a big step forward, but looking at the long-term picture, it worked. I was able to see how much time it took to roll one of these sage/tobacco combos, thus showing me how much time this habit took up in my life. I was able to roll smaller cigarettes, which helped to reduce the amount of nicotine and smoke going into my body. I ended up smoking less because I didn't want to spend so much time making them. I did this for about 1 year, and then just like that, my smoking habit faded out completely. I was able to slowly wean myself off of the tobacco and incorporate more guidelines that made it difficult for me to get to the cigarette. And most importantly, it helped me to practice delayed gratification. It's so easy to grab a cigarette out of the box and smoke it. You think of it, you go get it, and within seconds you are on your way to gratifying that need. With my example, I wanted it, but I had to put in some time and effort before I could receive the gratification of smoking. This delayed gratification is one of the essential keys to making lasting habit change. Each time I delayed smoking, I became stronger inside and my habit's power over me became weaker. I'm going to reread that. Each time I delayed smoking, I became stronger inside and my habit's power over me became weaker. I simply had to practice waiting. This is one of the best strength training tools you can have emotionally, physically, and otherwise. And it's an incredibly powerful tool in overcoming habits. Think about it. Have you ever had a craving for something but you couldn't get to it right then? You then go about your day focusing on other things, and by the end of the day, you may have forgotten completely about that craving. Or you may remember that craving, but you're too tired and or unimpressed by it, and you let it go. This makes you stronger against that craving. It shows you that you can let go. You can let things go. Cravings are just a part of your mind that can pass if you let them. It's not always easy, but over time, you can take your power back. The chapter continues. We go a little bit more into then emotional states instead of tangible items, but I'll save that for another reading. You can always get the entire book, Pocket Guide to Habit Change by Liz Myers, on Amazon. You can always check it out. My website, rootedlivingwellness.com. That's where I have all the information about my book and all the different formats, audio, paperback, ebook. And I wish you well with your change. You can do it, and this tool will help you. Wishing you a wonderful day. Take care.